Welcome to toy-polloi.
Hello and welcome to another video from toy-polloi, and in today's video we're going to be making a cape for this vintage Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Bowmark figure from LJN. Now if you collect this line of toys you'll know there's a few figures that do come with capes and they are often missing. This one on the right is complete and has his little cape. The one in the middle, as you can see, just has a couple of accessories, and this poor guy on the left has nothing at all. So just adding capes to these should really finish them off. So let's get on with the project and see how we can go about making a pattern and then making a final cape. So the first thing we need to do is work out how we can go about making a replacement cape. So this is an original cape. You can see it's made out of some fairly thin blue material. There's a little bit of pleating at the top and then a bit of elastic that holds it around his neck. So if we take this cape off, we can start to create a pattern from it by laying it on a bit of paper and doing a bit of tracing. So as you can see, it really is quite a straightforward shape and it shouldn't take too long to make a pattern. So what I'm going to do is just use a pencil and a ruler and a bit of paper, and I will make a pattern as close as I can to this, which I'll then take into Photoshop and work up a final pattern that is the one that we can then create the replacements from. So let's get this pattern designed.
P-O-Y-P-O-L-L-O-I.
Okay, and here we go. Here is the finished pattern, and I've just printed this out onto some normal printer paper and stuck some double-sided tape on the back so that we can stick that onto the fabric and then cut around it. But what are we going to use for the fabric? Well, I've been in my fabric pot and I found this, which is some blue toy knit fabric. It's not quite the same as the original material that's used, but it is a pretty good colour match. And this toy knit material is very reminiscent of the materials used back in the 80s, especially for Star Wars figures, which is why I use it so often. So what we're going to do is cut out a few different versions of this pattern, because I have a few different Bowmarks to fix up. So I'm just going to stick this onto here, cut round it, and then we can start doing the little bit of sewing that we need to get the pleats at the top. So let's get these all cut out. Now comes the fun part, because we've got to sew a little pleat into the top edge of this. If we look at the original cape, you can see that it's got little bits of pleating going on. So you basically fold the fabric over, sew a bit, fold the next bit of fabric over, sew a bit, until you've sort of pulled the top edge together so that we get this tapered section. You can see here that the actual pattern has a bit of a taper to it, but we have to put it in a little bit more. So I've already got some blue thread and a needle here, and all I'm going to do is carefully sort of fold a little bit over, just a tiny amount like that, put a stitch in, move along, do the next one until we've got a few pleats together. I'm going to try and count how many pleats there are on this original one. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5. So if I can recreate 5 pleats across the top, I'll be pretty happy. It's not going to be the easiest of things to do just because everything is so tiny, but I reckon we can get something that looks pretty close to this original. So let's get sewing. there you go, that's my first attempt. I'm going to say that's not too bad. It's not as hard as I thought it would be. I'm going to have another go. Obviously I've got 3 more here to make, so I'm going to sort of see if I can improve my skills as I go through the rest of them, but that's not too bad. That's starting to look pretty close. Yeah, so let's do a few more, see if I get any better. Well, they certainly got a bit easier the more I've made. I'm much happier with the sort of later ones that I made, but even the early ones I think will do the job. So we now just have to add some elastic. If we look at the original one, you can see there's this thin bit of white elastic, and that is stuff called shirring elastic, which is this stuff here. So what I've done is I've just taken a small amount of that and threaded it onto a needle. In one end I have tied a knot, so I'm going to sew that piece on until I've got the knot at one end. Then I'll sew another bit there and just leave a short amount and then tie a knot in the other end of that. And we should get something that looks much like that. And then this cape will be sort of ready and we can actually test it on the figure. So let's get the elastic added to all of these and then we'll see how well it works. It's now time to try this cape on a figure. So here is a Bowmark. We can just pop his head through that little piece of elastic. Should clip over his head pretty easily. And then it gets hidden by sort of the bottom part of his helmet. And there we go, we now have a replacement Bowmark cape, and I'm pretty happy with how that's turned out. The little bit of sewing that you need to do is actually fairly straightforward, and it's also quite forgiving. By the time it's on the figure, even if it's not perfect, you can see that that actually looks really quite nice. And the great thing about this cape pattern is exactly the same one that you need for Strongheart, so we can put a cape on Strongheart. The only problem I've had with Strongheart is I can't find a material that is like this with all of these flecks of silver in. So for the moment I'm just going to use one of these blue capes that I've made, but I think it will still look pretty nice. If anyone knows a source of this type of material with the sort of flecks of silver in it, then please leave a comment below. But for now, as I say, this blue one will look pretty good. This is going to be slightly harder to get onto the head of Strongheart just because his helmet is so large. He's got that extra tuft of I suppose it's supposed to be feathers or something over the top of it, but we can still put that on. And as you can see, that does actually make quite a nice difference to Strongheart. So there we go, got new capes for Bowmark and Strongheart. And so there we go, that is it for this project. We now have Bowmark with a really nice displayable cape. It's not quite the same as the original, as I say, the fabric is slightly different, but if you want to grab the fabric that I have used here, I will put a link in the description. It's called toy knit or looped fleece, and it really is the closest that I can find to that sort of 80s feel of fabric, and I think it works particularly nicely on these figures. The pattern will also be available for free on toy-polloi.com, so go there and grab that and get making some capes. Hopefully this video has been of interest to you. If it has, then make sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell to be notified each time I upload a new video. And if you've really enjoyed it and want to help support the channel, then why not think about becoming a Patreon or YouTube channel member. You get early access to all of my restoration videos and also access to an exclusive series called On the Cutting Mat, where I'll show you projects that you won't see anywhere else. So have a think about that, and thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching Toy-Polloi. Subscribe for more great videos.